All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his act being 7 ages.
Bye, Mom. How's my favorite grandmother?
Doing well. Come here, let me look at you. You look thin. Are you alright?
I'm fine.
Good. How's school?
It's okay. I have a book report due on Friday and no idea where to start.
Well, what's it about?
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, but soft what light through yonder window breaks. It is the east and Juliet in the sun.
Yonder?
Yonder. Hand me that book over there.
This book.
Yes, let's see.
So what are you, some kind of expert on Shakespeare?
Don't worry, dear, I was the same way at your age.
Hey!
If you're going to write about Shakespeare, you have to understand him. How about, Hamlet? That's a classic.
What's that one about?
Well, Hamlet's father dies, and he believes that his uncle Claudius killed him to be with his mother.
Did this guy write anything normal?
Well, normal is boring. His characters are real and universal.
Grandma, there's nothing universal about incest.
Struggling to make sense of it all. Dealing with the loss of a loved one.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
I've had to deal with a number of very difficult moments in my life.
But nothing like Hamlet, right?
Well,
Your uncle murdered your father?
no. But I did feel like the world was my Claudius.
Are you taking back the things with you? Not a great deal. Some ancient pots and utensils used by the pharaohs. Like them with the great sea. And also the mummies
Dance.
of Ottoman sections.
Will you turn off the radio?
But Mom, Dick Tracy is on.
And, what else?
Nancy.
What? I just received a call about your father.
Mom.
The wreck was so much. And they just couldn't get him out. I'm so sorry, Nancy. He's not coming home.
I'd always been a happy child. Even in the worst of times, I found a way to smile. But in the span of a week, I became numb. I couldn't do anything. All I could feel was pain and rage that was inside of me. I was lost, and at the time, I didn't know if I could find my way back.
Honey, are you okay?
I'm fine.
It's okay to be sad.
I said I'm fine.
But unlike Hamlet, I didn't go crazy or kill anyone. But me and my mom did drift apart.
Why?
Well, I never knew what she was going through. She lost the love of her life. She was distant and never really knew what to do with her spare time. And she never paid me any attention until I had someone of my own.
Who was it? Was it Grandpa?
It was my first love. James made me feel warm ever since my father passed. He was my Romeo.
It is about love. Don't they die at the end?
They do. Most Shakespearean tragedies end with a significant body count. But it is about love, at least a certain kind of love. Young, reckless, passionate love. That was me and James. There was a lake near my house. It was a place where I could get a moment of silence. I usually went at night, but one morning I took some bread and a book, and I had a seat under a tree.
You look awful lonely.
Who are you?
I think I could ask you the same question, Miss.
Nancy.
That's a beautiful name. It's a pleasure to meet you, Nancy. I'm James.
What are you doing here?
So, what are you hiding from?
Why do you care?
It's not every day a beautiful girl sits under my favorite tree.
Beautiful?
Well,
My mom. I'm hiding from my mom.
James was special. There was something about him that I could trust. I loved him. Your first love is something you never completely get over. He'll always be my biggest what if.
So why didn't you marry him?
Well, my mother didn't like him.
Why? He sounds perfect.
Well, times were tough, and my mom wanted me to marry someone who could support me, and his parents were employed, and he had several younger siblings, and they were poor.
So you couldn't marry him because he was poor?
Well, I couldn't marry him then because we were too young.
So what happened when we got older?
There's no when we got older. We tried, but it all just went wrong.
How lucky am I to have this, to have you?
Tell what? Goofball, you can't dance?
It's no goofball, to have someone that can take care of me, look after me.
I can imagine someone not wanting to care about you or be around you every hour of every day. You're beautiful, inside and out.
James, I don't know what to say.
You don't have to say anything. I love you so much, Nancy Collins, and I want to ask you to...
Well, you better not be asking me to marry you because I'm way too young to get married. I have no idea what I want to do with my life. I don't even know what I want to have for dinner.
I'm not asking you to marry me.
What?
Not yet, but I am asking that you come with me.
Come with you? Where?
Anywhere and everywhere. We can run away together. I can scrape up some money, and so can you. We can take your car and...
Where's all this coming from? Why now?
Why not now? What do we have to lose? I've already lost my job, and my father made it clear that without that, I might as well just not be around. Gives them one less mouth to feed.
My mom would never let me go.
She doesn't have to know.
I can't just lie to her. We've been through some rough times, but things just started to get better.
But I want to be with you.
Can't you be with me here?
We're both living in awful situations, Nancy, and if we run away, we can start over.
No, James, you are living in an awful situation. I have my mom. Leaving her just doesn't feel right.
Well, maybe this doesn't feel right.
What? Just a second ago you wanted to run away with me, and now you want to end this?
I didn't say that.
Yeah, well, you didn't really have to.
Nancy.
Stay the hell away from me!
I was furious with him. I was afraid of losing my mom, but as I walked home, I was terrified of losing James. He pulled me out of the darkest time of my life, and I knew I had to fix it. But when I arrived home, things were even worse.
Been?
I was at my tree reading.
What book?
My Shakespeare one.
The one your father gave you?
Yeah.
Don't bother. Where were you? With James?
And if I was?
I've told you multiple times that you're not allowed to see him.
Multiple times you refused to give me a good reason.
Nancy, you know why. You can't marry someone that can't support you financially, especially not as young as you are.
I know I'm too young to get married. But if I was to get married, I wouldn't say yes or no to him because of money.
I have spent the last 3 years working 2 and 3 jobs just to keep a roof over our head. I do not want that for you.
You can't stop us.
I can, and I will. You're forbidden to ever see James again.
Forbidden? What is wrong with you? Can't you see that I'm happy for the first time since Dad died? What do you have against us, against him?
God, Nancy, he reminds me of your father.
What?
No education, no plan, but all the optimism in the world. And I've seen the way you two look at each other. I don't want you to end up with nothing like I did.
When I was in my room, all I could think about was how mad I was at my mother. I decided to go with James. After a few days of planning, I was almost ready to go. My mom kept some money hidden in the kitchen, money she'd been putting away for years. After packing some clothes and my book, I was able to find it. I took it, certain that I needed it more than she did. Next thing I knew, I was at James's front door.
Hey, so I've been thinking about what you said and... Hey, let's go.
What's going on?
Let's go.
Go where?
Anywhere and everywhere. Come on.
You said you couldn't.
Yeah, well, things change, so come on.
Are you okay?
I'm great. I'm escaping from hell with the love of my life. Let's go.
Well, with the way things ended, I kind of thought we ended.
Why would you think that?
You told me to stay away from you.
I was angry. I was scared, but I was wrong. I love you. What's wrong?
I can't leave with you.
Why not?
They need me here.
So, you're just gonna stay?
My family needs me. I got my job back and...
Can't you get another job somewhere else?
Nancy, they need me.
So you're just gonna leave me instead?
Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
I was never going back. I knew that, but I didn't want to go alone. I hadn't spoken to my friend Angie for a couple of years because my mother decided she was a bad influence. When I got to her house, I barely finished my first sentence before she agreed to come with me. She'd always talked about going on a road trip, and for a while, it was everything we ever hoped it would be.
Are you ready? What? Are you ready? Yeah, I was born ready. Can't believe you brought us that extra bread. I'm stuffed.
Speaking of waiters, did you see the one near the counter?
Yeah, what about him?
He was totally checking you out.
What? No, really?
I know so.
Well, he gave me his number.
John? He even has a cute name.
That was my as you like it phase. A young girl with family problems is exiled into the wilderness, and she brings her best friend along so she won't be alone.
What was her name?
Rosalind and her friend Celia.
So, after that, did you guys have any more adventures in the wilderness?
We tried, but we soon realized we were running out of money.
And John? What happened with you and John?
Well, I didn't bother to call him for a few weeks, but then one day I did.
And how did that go?
I remember thinking that this could work. We got along well enough and he was a keeper.
What happened after that?
It was almost 4 years before I saw Angie again.
Nancy! It's been too long. Yeah, how are you and Edward?
Doing good. We're actually thinking about kids. How are you and John?
Actually, I wanted to tell you something.
Did you guys split? Do you need to stay with me and Edward for a few weeks? I could stay down.
No. We're good. We're great, actually. John proposed.
How long?
About a week ago.
You didn't tell me for a week.
I wanted to tell you in person.
You hear so many stories of love
glad
at first
you
sight,
did.
but it isn't a feeling you can describe. When I married John, I knew my life would never be the same.
So, John was Grandpa?
Yes, do you remember him?
Bits and pieces.
He was a good man. I assume you don't know much ado about nothing.
Much ado about what?
These two characters fall in love, and it's not love at first sight like me and John, but I always thought that Benedict reminded me of John, and he always said I had Beatrice's fire.
What were they like?
They always had to try some sly way of saying I love you, and they were always in the midst of a friendly competition.
That's weird, but sweet.
That was our house, and your mom came soon after.
So, did Shakespeare write any plays about getting married and having children?
Well, most of the comedies end in a wedding or three, and some of them aren't even funny. They just have a happy ending. But that ends there. They're about teenagers coming into their own, but in almost all of Shakespeare there are no children. The some that I can recall are in the tragedies, where they're either running away before their parents get stabbed or getting stabbed themselves.
So, Shakespeare hated children?
Well, from what we knew, he never really knew his own children. And he wrote for who he had, and I don't think there were many child actors in 1592.
Maybe there weren't very many because he kept stabbing them.
Maybe.
How did Grandpa die? He wasn't...
Oh, no daggers or knives involved. He woke up one night with a pain in his stomach, and after a while I took him to the hospital and they said there was nothing they could do, and that was that. After 2 months he died.
How did you get through that?
He didn't make it easy. You couldn't win an argument against him even if you were right. If he had a problem at work, he'd walk up and down the hallway while he tried to figure it out himself. Those last 2 months were some of the hardest of my life. He would get angry and throw things against the wall, and he never hurt me, never once, and sometimes he'd wake up in the middle of the night begging me to forgive him.
Didn't you have anyone that could help you?
He wouldn't allow it. It took all I had just to get him to take his medicine half the time, and you weren't even a year old yet, so your mother was occupied with you and a little scared to bring you around him in that state. But at the end, he gave me one good day. We talked and laughed, and when he held you, he said, "Although she be but little, she is fierce."
Isn't that...
That is. That's my favorite line from Midsummer Night's Dream. It meant so much to me because he tolerated my love of Shakespeare, and I took him to almost every play, and he never said a word. Not once. The day after that, he died.
I love you, Grandma.
I love you too. And so did he. I want you to keep that.
I can't take this from you.
Elle, you're so young and you have your whole life to live. I lived my life, and that book meant so much to me, and I hope it means something to you.
But why give it to me now?
Knock, knock.
Mom,
What have y'all been up to?
Grandma's been telling me about Shakespeare and her life.
Is that so?
Oh, don't worry. I left most of the killing out of it.
That's good. I appreciate you keeping her for a while.
Oh, it's no trouble. We've had fun.
Mom, look what she gave me.
Really? Mom, that's your favorite book.
Yeah, well, I thought it was about time someone else had their hands on it.
Take a picture.
I was thinking the same thing. Shakespeare on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Shakespeare.
Last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history. A second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. In my mind, my life would fit right in with everything else in that book. Love, laughter, betrayal, loss, confusion, all of it. When I look back, I see everything I ever wanted. The people I've met, the life I've made, and the things I've learned. The rest is silence.